Good evening, welcome back to the question and answer series for Anash.org. Follow-up question from the previous year. What is the benefit of the Alter Rebbe's Ksav over the other Ksav of the Bas Yosef and the Ari? Is it only because it's our Rebbe? Now, first of all, that's also a good reason. As the Gemara says, that the Talmidim of Atana said that since it came out of the mouth of my Rebbe, I'm going to do it. So therefore, since the Alter Rebbe made this Ksav, that's also a good reason, good enough reason we should use it as Chassidim. But more than that, there is a story which is brought down in a couple of places. In our sources, in Chabad, we don't have this Mekibel, but there's other Sforim which bring down the story. For instance, Betzine Kedisha, Oisi Zayin, or Emenes Tzadikim Oslamat Ches. They bring down a story which goes as follows. When the Talmidim of the Mezrich Magid left Mezrich one time, and all of them went in to say goodbye for their Rebbe. He gave them Shalom, but the Alter Rebbe said, you stay here. After they left, the Alter Rebbe told the Mezrich Magid told the Alter Rebbe that I would like, since there's a big kitrik in Shemaim, because some people have this kind of scribe of Ksav in Tefillin and Mazizas, sometimes have another one, and for some poskim hold, as we mentioned previous year, that Ksav Bas Yosef is not 100% kosher for us. Other hold that Ksav Ari is not 100% kosher. So it is as if like there's a lot of Toiras, two Torah. So there's a Kitrig L'mayla in Shemaim, and I want you should invent a Ksav which should be good for all the shittas, all the dayas. And Alter Rebbe was there for 4 weeks and designed a new letter for the Tefillin and also bottom in order that it should be according to all the shittas. And he gave it to the Mezrich Magid and was very happy. After then, the Alter Rebbe left to go to his home, and he passed through Animpoli, the place where Rabbi Zisha lived, and the Alter Rebbe was a good friend of Rabbi Zisha. So he stopped over there, and he went into the house of the Sofer of Rabbi Zisha, which was called Reb Duvet Ma'anipol. It was at night, and he sees that he's writing a new pair of tefillin, and he looks at the oisias, and he sees that this is exactly the letters, the oisias, which he just designed for his Rebbe in Mezrich. So he asked him, what's going on? How do you know this oisias? He says, my Rebbe, Rebbe Zisha, just came in yesterday and told me that in Shemayim they paskent that we got to use a new kind of oisias. And Rebbe Zisha told me how to write it, and he told me that I should write for him a new pair of tefillin. And that was exactly the oisias of the Alter Rebbe designed. So we see over here that once the Alter Rebbe designed this oisias, because he wanted it should be l'chal hadayas, in Shemayim the paskent that this is the way how you got to write. So therefore, we see that the priority of the Alter Rebbe's Ksav over other Ksavs is because this is according to all the shittas. So although this story is not Mekibel in the Chabad Shalshelas, but since it has a strong source in other Mekoiras, and I heard it from my father Zangazin that he heard this story once from the Vishlitzer Rebbe Monsi. So we see that the Alter Rebbe has a mala over other ksavs because it is according to other shittas, to all the shittas. Question. Part of my pilut in Beis Chabad is we design now a mug, and we wrote on top of the mug some kind of logo words, and we are giving it to all our balabatim. So we purchased 100 cups, and we toiled it, and we want to send it out to all our balabatim. Is there any problem doing that? Did I do correct when I toiled it, or what should I do now? This is a very good question and very important question. The same question goes also for people who buy for Mishloich Munas. They put it in a mug, a cup, a glass. So do you need to toivel it? You don't need to toivel it. So the answer goes as follows. When a person wants to give a cup or utensils or kalim for a friend, the person who gives the keli could not toivel it, he should not toivel it. Because for him it's not a kli either. It's not a keli, it's not a dish which he uses for a sida. It's a dish which he goes to give for someone else. And therefore he cannot toivel it, and even when he toivels it, according to some poskim, it's worthless. And this is how Reb Shlomo Zalman writes in his Tshuvas Chelik Beis Sima Samach Vuv, that you cannot toivel it. And the person who gets the keli should toivel it again, because a lot of poskim hold that this tefillah was not a good tefillah. But you should not make a bracha on this second tefillah, because there is a Isser Ve'eter, a famous poisik Isser Ve'eter, which the Taz brings down, a Simech Kiv Chov Sif Kut Niyid, which he holds that the person who gives the present could toivel it, because since it's his, and if he decides he wants to use it, he could use it and he will use it. So therefore it's as if it is a kli seuda, it is a dish which is made for eating, therefore he can toivel it, and it is a good tefillah. Now although the poskim do not agree with the Isra, they don't pass like him, but since there is such a posik, the person who gets the keli, when he toivels it again, he should not make a bracha. Sufik brachas local. But if a person wants to give it for a person because he's afraid that that person will not toivel it, so the eitzah which a person can give, that you should be makna to that person through a third person. That means the third person should pick it up for the person who wants to give it. So that person who gets the matana, he is in possession of this keli already. Now you could toivel his keli because it's his already. This is how the Makor Chaim paskins. But Reb Shlomo Zalman is not happy with this, because he says, since you never know if the person who gets the keli will use it, maybe he has such a keli, he's not going to use it, so it won't be by him either a kli either. So therefore he's not happy with this solution, and therefore the poskim say you should not do this, you should not toivel it at all, and tell for the person who gets the keli it wasn't toiveled, and he should toivel it for himself. But this you can do only when you give it for a person which is a Shem Torah mitzvahs. He's going to toivel the keli. If you give it for a person which is not a Shem Torah mitzvahs, you should do this solution. You should be makna to that person through a third person, and then you toivel it and you give it for that guy. But that's only if you know exactly for whom you're going to give it. But over here, in your case, first of all, you toiveled it already, and second of all, you don't know exactly which keli goes to whom. That person should be koine for that person, so you don't have a solution. And if you're going to give this keli without you toivel it, he is not going to toivel it for sure, because he is not a Shem Torah mitzvahs. So if you could tell them that they should toivel it, haray tov, that would be the best solution. But if you cannot tell them, you could rely, at least in such a case, on the Isva Heter, which the Isva Heter says that since it's yours and you could use it, then you could toivel it for that person too, and there is a kele which is kosher. But there is another solution which some poskim say, that you give this mug and put in some food inside. So then, for sure, you use it now for food. So it is considered a kli which you use for food. Now, not everybody agrees that this is a real good solution, but at least some poskim hold that it is a solution. So if you could give this mug and put in some kind of food inside, so then for sure that we the best thing. But if you cannot, it's not ideal, then you could give this cup even without telling them what to do, because they are not going to toivel it. Because since you toiveled it, we have Isva Heter which says it's okay, and by the Eved in such a case we could rely on the Isva Heter. Question: my son's 3rd birthday falls out on Shabbos. I have heard multiple conflicting opinions as to when the option should take place. Can you clarify when the correct time and place time should be? And the answer is, it should be after Shabbos. We don't cut hairs of a child before they become 3 years old, as the Rebbe writes, and other Sforim brings it down too, that the Torah writes by Orla, Sholosh shonim yilchem araylim lo yeuchel, that the first 3 years when you plant a tree, you don't eat the fruits. The same goes also for a child. The first 3 years you don't cut his hair, only after he becomes 3. And that's even 1 day before he becomes 3, you don't do it. So since he becomes 3 on Shabbos, you'll have to cut it only after Shabbos, and you should not cut it on Friday or before. Question: if I'm not feeling well Friday night between 6 and 7, is it better to drink or eat without Kiddush, or make Kiddush even though it's in the 7th hour? The answer is, you should make Kiddush between 6 and 7, because drinking or eating before Kiddush is not permitted halachically. Not to make Kiddush between 6 and 7 is only a minhag. So therefore, when you have the choice, or eating before Kiddush, which is asur, or making Kiddush between 6 and 7, which is only a minhag, you do the latter and you make Kiddush between 6 and 7, rather than drink or eat before Kiddush. Continuing to this question, if it's better to make Kiddush, should my husband make Kiddush for me, or should I make for myself and he will wait till 7 o'clock? No, in such a case that you don't feel well, your husband should make Kiddush regularly, and he should not wait till 7. He should eat together with you the Shabbos meal, because that's the inyan, that husband and wife should eat Shabbos meal together. And since you don't feel good, you have to make Kiddush. He should make regular Kiddush and not wait till 7. Question: if one wants to bench licht early, what is the earliest time one is permitted to do so? From Plaga Mincha, writes the Alter Rebbe, you could be Mekabel Shabbos. If someone is Mekabel, you could light the Shabbos candles. If someone is Mekabel Shabbos within the next 10 minutes. Plaga Mincha is an hour and a quarter before Mincha. An hour and a quarter is not the regular 60-minute hour. You have to calculate every day how long is an hour. From the Netzachama till the Shkia, how many time it is, divided in 12, and that's an hour. So an hour and a quarter before Mincha, before the Shkia, is Plaga Mincha. From then a person could light the candles if he's Mekabel Shabbos. Further question: when one has to spend Shabbos in a hospital and cannot bench licht there, how early can one bench at home with that nai not to be Mekabel Shabbos until the Zman. If a person could light the candles near the hospital, in someone's home, a Beis Chabad, or a Shabbos house which someone is eating there, Shabbos Eder, that will be the ideal thing and the best thing. Then, right before the Zman, you go there and you light candles, even though you are not going to eat there. But someone else is going to eat there, and even if he lit already the candles, or he's going to light their candles, you could also light in the same room as someone else if there is a person which is going to eat there. If it's not possible, and you are going to a place which you don't have a house where you could light the candles, and you cannot light in the hospital, so you could light after Plaga Mincha and make it nigh that you don't want to be Mekabel Shabbos and go to the hospital. Now, although the Alter Rebbe writes that if a person lights the candles early, he has to be Mekabel Shabbos within 10 minutes, and we mentioned it before. But since you are in such an option, in such a case that you don't have another option, and it's either lighting like this or not lighting at all, and some poskim, a lot of poskim hold that even if you're not Mekabel Shabbos right away, if you light the candles after Plaga Mincha, you're Yoitze. Now, although the Alter Rebbe holds you're not Yoitze, at least you should light the candles to be Yoitze according to the other poskim, but you should not make a bracha, because since according to the Alter Rebbe, it's not, you're not Yoitze the mitzvah, so don't make a bracha. But light the candles, and at least you'll be Yoitze according to other poskim. If you are leaving your house to the hospital even before Plaga Mincha, even then you should light candles without a bracha again, and make it now you're not being Mekabel Shabbos. Now, although according to most poskim, if you light candles before Plaga Mincha, it's worthless, but there is a Reb Kiva Eiger which holds that you could light candles before Plaga Mincha, so therefore at least light candles without a bracha and be yoitz according to the Kiva Eiger. But again, you cannot make a bracha, since according to the Alter Rebbe and most of the poskim, you are not yoitze with these Shabbos candles. Question: are you permitted to make hashukah in a mikveh on Shabbos? To open the stopper, open the cover, which is the two mikvahs, it should become a kosher mikveh. Could you do it on Shabbos? In Gedila Tahare, a famous sefer of Richs Bekuas a couple of hundred years ago, he writes in Nachal Kif Mem Aleph that it depends on the two shittas of Rishonim, on the machlokes of Rishonim, how hashukah helps. When you have a mikveh which is kosher and a mikveh which is not kosher because it's tap water, and you make it kosher through opening the hashukah, how does it work? Some poskim say it goes mitam zriya. It is as if you took the non-kosher water and you planted it and it in the kosher water, and it becomes kosher. It's like you take non-pure pyrus and you plant it in the ground, and after it grows, it is tur already. Although the payra, when you put it in the ground, it wasn't tur, but since you put it in the ground and it grew something new, so it becomes tur. The same will also go over here. Since the water connects with the other water, it is like you planted it, the non-kosher water in the kosher water, and then it's kosher. That's one way how some Rishonim hold how hashukah works. Other poskim hold no, it goes through mitam chibur. It is as if it is connected, the two waters together, and therefore it is okay, and as long as it's connected, it's kosher. Once you close it, it's non-kosher. So the Gedila Tara says it depends on these two shittas. If it is metam zriya, if it's planted, it becomes kosher itself, so then you cannot do it on Shabbos, because you're masaking the water. You're making from non-kosher water, kosher water. If it is metam chiver, so therefore, it's not considered masaken, tikkun, because it is the same non-kosher water. It's only once it's connected, it becomes kosher. But it's only till it's connected. Once you go close it, it's not going to be kosher again. So therefore, it is not a tikkun mona. But that's also not pashut, because after all, we hold that even once you opened the hashukah and it was connected, it is kosher. We are only machmar, but tfilas noshim, it should always stay open, because we have Rabbi Yerichem. But again, he wants to push it, say that it has to do with these two Rishonim. But the Lechem is similar in Simaraish Aleph, similar Sifkut and Tzadik Bais writes that in any case you are permitted to make a shokah, because although it's a tikkun, but it's a tikkun kal, it's a very light tikkun, and since water is oichlam, tikkun kal ba oichlam is not a problem to do on Shabbos, so then you can do it. And then it gives another reason. It is only asuras hamanaya. You're only taking away the blockage. That means as if the two waters were basically together. There's something which is blocking the two waters. You're taking away the blockage, so therefore it becomes okay. And since it's only asuras hamanaya, it's not a problem to do on Shabbos. And it gives a very geschmacke raya that it's only asuras hamanaya. If it's called that you are doing something, you're masang something, so how could a person do it? We know in mikvah there's a problem if a person makes the mikvah kosher, because koich gavra is a problem. So our korchach is not a problem, and you can make a tikkun kal ba'ochlam, you can make a shukah. And this is how all the poskim write. You could make a shukah Shabbos in the mikvah. This is a Igris Moshe Chaylik Bais or a Chaim Simon Pai Bais. It brings a nice Arai from Gemur in Beitza, which says that if you have non-pure, non-tur water, you could connect it with tur water, it becomes tur. And according to the Rabbanan, you could do it also on Shabbos. And this is how the Rambam paskins. So therefore, the poskim say that you could make a shukah in Shabbos, it's not a problem. Now, the only problem is if the water is very hot. And this is the hemshich of this question. Is there a problem of making a shukah in Shabbos in a hot mikveh? And the answer is, if it is Yatzolder's boy, then you might have a problem. Because connecting the water which is cold with the water which is hot, a little bit of the water which gets connected to the hot water which is Yatzolder's boy will warm up the other water, and it's a problem of Bishul. But if it's less than Yatzolder's boy, then it's not a problem, and you can open it. Now, how much is Yatzolder's boy? Some poskim say it's 104 Fahrenheit, and one poskim hold it's 110 Fahrenheit. So therefore, at least if it's cooler than 104 Fahrenheit, it's not so hot, then it's not a problem to make hashukah in Shabbos, even in a hot mikveh. Thank you for joining us, and please join us again next week and send in your questions to inbox at Anash.org. Good night and have a wonderful week.